Buenas tardes y saludos a todos. Welcome everybody to the PGP podcast. Hey, Josh Tobat, Proud Principal of Memorial Pathway Academy in Garland ISD, Garland, USA. On Sunday, the fourth anchor of the Fantastic Four with Sean Hurt on Saturday, Tammy Taylor, Shika Houston, and Principal Cafele. And we close out the Fantastic Four on Sunday here with that lady right there, Dr. Moreno and myself. Hey, Mari, how's it going?
Oh my God, Josh, I had a fantastic week. Oh my goodness. I'm still in the RGV. I'm still in 956. But it's been a fabulous week. Oh my
What did you
goodness.
do? What did you? Are you
I
still
actually
PG?
had the opportunity to work with Practice Mercy Foundation, who supports asylee refugees here in the Texas-Mexico border, and actually went to Mexico, Reynosa, Mexico, to visit some of the the asylum seekers, students and families, and now there's an app. I didn't even know that to get an application and seek asylum using an application process.
Gotcha. Awesome. So that was a good experience for you.
Oh my goodness, opened my heart, opened my mind, and it really gave me a different perspective. And now I see what kids are actually going through and understand a little bit more about our EB students coming into our schools.
And so I'm happy that people in Pennsylvania, in Iowa, in Minnesota now are feeling what we've dealt with for years in Texas. What
Yep.
we've dealt with for years in Texas finally here. And you know what, Maria? I want to also, we had a great week at our campus. We had McKinney ISD come and visit, see the awesome things that are going on at MPA. They want to keep on supporting the EB students, like you said. And we had an
Yeah.
organization from Wiley work
Hey,
with those
Josh, tell everybody what EBs are.
emergent bilinguals. And in your part of the country, that might be LEP. In your part of the country, it might be ELL. They might be EL. I don't know. They name me so much.
Multilingual learners. They're just everybody else calls them something different. At what is it? Texas is the only one that calls them emergent bilingual. It's kind of the weirdest thing. But you're absolutely right. So what happened with McKinney? So they came over and visited.
They love seeing awesome educators like one that's here on the show today on the panel, but the beautiful things that happen at the magic that takes place at Memorial Pathway Academy. So if you're on EB campus across the United States, reach out to us. We want to share notes because you never know. You know that this population is very mobile. So they might be in Houston, then they might be in Tennessee, then they might be in New York. The only way that we get connected is by working and helping each other out, knowing where the kid came from so we support him or her. I want to do a quick little spotlight real quick on past episodes. And you know what we have right now? I'm going to start off with episode number 2. Jonathan Cransford was here before. And please go back and look in the archives and you see episode 2 where he talks about creating a great ISS program for your campus. You know that discipline issues have always been a concern in big campuses and little campuses, and what you do when you send to in-school suspension. So I'd like to remind everybody to go check out episode number 2, and he's going to be part of our panel today to see how you can better support those kids, especially the recidivists on your campus that go to in-school suspension. Remember
and
that?
I mentioned the book because I actually purchased the book already when I heard his podcast or when he was on the show. Oh my God, it was amazing. So I quickly got the book and it's so good. So I recommend it highly.
Awesome. And now our Chinchilagua moment. What is that? What is Chinchilagua? Oh, let me tell you, it's a game. It's a game that we play in Mexico. And all the kids line up against the wall and you yell, Chinchilagua y arriba, boy. And it's a fun game. But sometimes you run and you jump on top of people's back. And they hold on tight. And then the next one, Chinchilagua y arriba, boy. And he runs or she runs and jumps on top of back. It's really fun, but sometimes it hurts because you land wrong on people. Well, the Chinchilagua moment today, I'd just like to remind everybody that in our field of education, there's 2 types of colleagues that you're going to have. People that promote you and people that support you. Let me tell you what the difference is. The people that support you are the ones that say, hey, good job. Hey, good job. Hey, you're doing an awesome, that's good, right? But you always want to surround yourself with people that promote you. So if you're in the classroom right now, or you're an assistant principal, or you're a principal, you got to be around people that publicly say your name, that publicly tell people, this is the next person. This is how you're going to fill in that gap. It's okay to have people that support you because a lot of people that support you will not promote you for many other reasons. We talked about peanut butter and jelly with Jerry Brooks, but it's about making sure that you surround yourself with people in our field that not only support you, but most importantly, promote who you are, the hard work, your dedication, because people will say, what have you done? What have you done to become a team lead? What have you done to become an instructional coach? What have you done to become an assistant principal? So on, up and down, up the ladder. What have you done? And who's promoting your name? In the district, in your school system, what is your name worth? Is it copper? Is it silver? Is it gold? Is it platinum? Who's even mentioning your name? So find those people that will promote your name to make sure that you reach those dreams. What do you think about that, Mari?
You know, Josh, you hit it right on the nose because I'm here in the Valley and I was at a conference, and my former social worker was doing a presentation, and I was in the audience, and here she is talking about, oh, and my principal, and let me tell you, and what she did, and I am who I am because of her. But it was reciprocated because when I did my presentation, I know about trauma because of her. And so I mentioned it. So it was funny because she said to me afterwards, you know, it feels so good to hear you say the work that you've done and you value what I've done. But it's how we are, right? We have to be able to value other people and promote others as others promote ourselves as well. So I love the fact that you showcase that today at today's because we have a bunch of teachers today who we want to make sure that they also get showcased and they get not only supported, but they're also promoting themselves and helping promote other teachers.
Well, that's a great segue. And without further ado, this awesome panel from across the United States, West, East Coast, here in Texas. I'm bringing the whole panel in. We have a loaded show, team. Look, they're coming. Illinois in the house, Houston in the house, more Texans in the house, the Empire State in the house. Everybody here, welcome. Thank you to the panel for being here. There are a lot of rock stars here, and we're happy that you're providing that extra. Yeah, you look like the Brady Bunch, Phil. Exactly. Some people might not know what I just said about the Brady Bunch, but that's okay. There's no worries about that. Hey, panel, thank you for being here. I would like to go around throughout the panel. I want you to say these three things: your name, what you do, the different hats that you wore, teacher, coach, whatever you've done, and which one has been your favorite. Your name, what roles you've served in education, and which one has been your favorite. Let's start off there in New Mexico, the land of enchantment.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. My name is Christopher Love. I'm a sixth grade language arts teacher. I'm also an instructional lead teacher on campus, and I am the English department head. Um, I think my favorite, of course, is being a sixth grade language arts teacher. I love my other roles and supporting the staff, but just working with my kids and giving instruction and building those relationships. Of course, this is why I'm in the profession. So my favorite part or my favorite role is being a teacher.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing. Phil, talk to us.
Brian, it's Phil Januszewski, 20 years chem and physics teacher in the high school setting. That's been my one and only job in the educational space, and proud to have it. I second what Chris says. Love being with students and trying to make a positive impact. So grateful to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, my man. Neighboring close to him, Brian in New York.
Yeah, my name is Brian Martin. I'm a second grade teacher from West New York. And I've been in second grade for about 19 years now. And it's just like the gentleman have already said, it's working with the students, seeing the growth. At my level, there's a little bit, they're still young. So they get into all of the neat things that little kids get into. And the growth is so evident. So it's just awesome position.
Thank you, Brian, for sharing. Dr. Lynn Lucas.
Hi, Dr. Lucas here from MPA in Garland. I spent several years actually teaching at the university level, and then I taught, anatomy at med schools before becoming the biology and IPC science teacher at MPA. But I will say that my favorite job so far has been here at MPA. Like, it's just, I've grown more as an educator working with these kids than in any other type of student that I've worked with. It's been like a really fun challenge.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Miss Arzola.
Hello. I am in Houston. I teach at La Promesa, which is a newcomer campus. Um, and I've done a lot of things. This is my 10th year teaching. Um, I currently do a lot of things. I'm student council president, or I'm sorry, not president, student council advisor, spirit squad advisor, um, and lots of different things. I've taught middle school and high school, but I think my favorite has definitely been teaching ninth grade here at La Promesa, especially because of the population I get to teach. Our newcomers and immigrant population is just an amazing group of kids, and they have taught me more about myself and taught me more about where I come from than anything, and it's just a beautiful thing. So that's my favorite. It's been the last 4 years. We're about to have our own graduating class. So I'm our first graduating class. So I'm really excited for that.
Adrian, what subject do you teach?
I teach English 1, ninth grade.
Thank you for sharing. Jonathan.
Hey, Jonathan Cranford, author of The Art of In-School Suspension, and I am proudly an in-school suspension teacher. I spent the first 5 years of my career as an English language arts teacher at the high school level on a campus, therapeutic campus for students with emotional disturbance. Then I spent 2 more years as a PE teacher. I know you didn't ask this, but that was by far my least favorite position that I've ever held. And then I've spent the last 6 years as an in-school suspension teacher, and that is my favorite. And I think I should also mention that I am a co-owner of a company that provides professional development for in-school suspension teachers because there is none until now. And our mission is to radically transform the way schools handle discipline.
Jonathan, is this at the secondary, middle, high school?
I'm currently at a middle school,
Okay.
but our program is for middle and high school.
Perfect. Thank you.
John.
Hello, everyone. John Murray. I'm at Saxe High School in Saxe, Texas. We're part of the Garland Independent School District. This is my 10th year since coming back to teaching. I taught for 2 years, and I took a 23-year break in the action, served as an active duty Air Force officer for 20 years, came back. I'm had a lifetime teaching certificate, so I was able to come back into the business. It's my 10th year back. I just love it. I teach ninth grade English, and I have taught ninth grade English for 10 years. Last year, I also got to add to my portfolio a course called AP Seminar, a big argumentation course where the kids are arguing some really topical, hot button issues that are important to them. And that's opened up a whole new arena for me where they get to write about it and they get to argue about it and they really speak from their hearts. And I'm really having a great time with that. So in addition to my classroom opportunities, I have the great pleasure I announce the football games for my high school. So after a wonderful day at school every day, and we're a block schedule AB, so I have 167 students every 2 days, and then I get to celebrate with them, the band and the cheerleaders and the choir and the athletes and everybody, these kids who put in so much work every day, that great relationship building that I get a chance to do with them, and we're enjoying great success. So I absolutely have a marvelous time. Was very blessed this year, was the district teacher of the year last year, which gave me an opportunity to go to other campuses that I hadn't seen. And goodness sakes, the magic I'm hearing from this panel already, I want to come visit all of you. But when you start talking about adding to our portfolios and our toolboxes and things like that, always get a chance to leave the campus, do some great things. And they just added some gifted and talented training to my opportunities. I'm having the best time ever.
Thank you, panel, for sharing, everybody. And hey, you heard that right. If you're not in Texas, that's a real teacher right there. What do I mean by that? 160 kids, all right? Not all schools get 160 freshmen. English. Look at all those essays he has to read. Oh,
14
Lord.
years old all day long, no matter what I do.
But just real quick, welcome Central Hicks, part of the Fantastic Four family, for joining us tonight. And I just noticed that the Facebook is not connected. So I had no idea it was connected beforehand. So if you're sent anybody out there, send them to the YouTube channel or X or LinkedIn. That's where we have it. Take it away, Dr. Moreno.
Oh my goodness, Josh, I was just kind of taking notes here. And let me tell you, we have elementary, we have middle, and we have high school represented in this panel. So I want everybody out there in the audience, if you have any questions for this fantastic group of educators today, there is not a level that we're not representing today. So please, 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 audience, anybody out there who has questions for teachers, this is a great time to drop them in the chat, because we definitely have some representation from different levels. My question to everybody, just so that everybody understands where we are and who we are, can you tell me real quickly who or what motivated you to become an educator? Okay, so again, who or what motivated you to become an educator? And we're going to start off with Phil.
Hey, friends, thanks so much. Mr. B, 17 years old I was, chemistry class. Just got done working about 7 different restaurant jobs in the last 2 years, realized that culinary and going to culinary school was not in the cards for me. So talked to a teacher I really trusted, and he helped me realize how much I loved high school and science, and said, what if you were in high school the rest of your career? You could plant seeds and change lives. And that's all she wrote, baby. Went right to college, got it, 22, got a job, and been doing it ever since. So shout out to Mr. B for changing my life.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. What about you, Brian? Who or what motivated you to become an educator?
Yeah, you know, I come from a family of educators. My grandmother was an educator. My mom was an educator. And I always knew that I wanted to give back and work with people in the community in some way. But when I'm 18, 19, you're not thinking like I'm want to go and work with 5, 6, 7-year-olds all day. So I thought like I wanted to be a police officer, go into the criminal justice. I come from my time period, Sylvester Stallone, Arnold, big testosterone with that. But as I'm going to college and taking criminal justice, I realized that one just through conversations with some of my buddies, with my mom, with my grandma. I was like, this is the place that I need to be. So just kind of all fell into place.
And second graders, that's so crazy. Oh my goodness, that is a scary grade for me, because it's hard. Second graders are hard.
Yeah, it's different. I started out in kindergarten, first and second grade. So this is a big maturity jump for me to be with that.
Absolutely. And wait till you go to high school. It's a whole different ball game.
Yes.
What about you, Christopher? Who or what motivated you?
So the person that motivated me was my mother. So she is a lifelong educator. When I was younger, she taught special education at the elementary. And when I was little, I don't think I truly understood the impact that she was having on her students. But I just remember going to the classroom on weekends and also going to her students' sporting events or other activities. I saw her tutoring students outside of classroom time and taking them on trips, as well as what she did in the classroom. And once I graduated high school and I decided to pick a major, I took a few education classes and fell in love with them. And I remember just the impact that my mom had, and that inspired me to go into the profession, and it's great.
Awesome. Thank you. Sixth grade is a goodie. I like the sixth grade. Those are awesome kids. Dr. Lucas, oh my goodness, biology. So tell me who or what motivated you, and then biology. Wow, that's interesting.
Well, I sort of came at it, as a second career. I started out, going to graduate school, getting my PhD in anthropology, and I was a research scientist. But the way I paid my bills was teaching. And I just figured, along the way, I've always been a lifelong learner, a student. Learning has just always been what excites my mind. And when I was working with other students and helping them to understand, and seeing that light when they get it, and it just feels so good, to help them get there to that understanding. And You know, like when I came to a point in my life where I sort of had to make a decision to go one way or another way, and I realized like, no, I want to be in a classroom. Like this is what I want to do. You know, I want to be helping people learn. I mean, and you know, I happen to be good at it, so you know, it worked out.
Awesome. John Murray, ninth grade English teacher. Who or what motivated you?
I am a proud military dependent because my dad was in the service for 30 years. And because of that, I graduated high school from Kubasaki High School in Okinawa, Japan. And I just knew that when I came back to the States after graduating, I was going to get my degree in mass communications and do something in the TV and radio world. I want to be like Phil there. And Brian with these amazing voices, man. I wanted to do that. But what happened, I'm working as the NBC sports affiliate as a sports anchor up in Wichita Falls, Texas. Loving it. I'm a college student getting all my mass communications classes. And the station got purchased. And I saw the level of panic in everybody's eyes because these were the weathercaster and the sportscaster and the reporters, et cetera. And I'm a college intern at the time. And the volatility of it, apparently little stations get bought all the time and everybody was worried about their jobs. And I didn't want to experience that. Well, come to find out, there was a wonderful professor at my college, Midwestern State University in Wichita Falls, Dr. June Cable. And she said, we have had our eye on you for about 2 years. Come over to the education world. And I'll tell you, my friends from Kubasaki High School would say, John Murray, a teacher, there's a 0% chance that's going to happen. And once you start, as my colleagues here on the panel will tell you, I cannot think of another profession that charges your soul as much as being a professional educator does. So I taught for 2 years, did my service. It was important for me to serve my country because that's part of the culture I came from. But I will tell you, during my military career, I got to do a lot of teaching, and that included being in Baghdad, Iraq for a year. And getting a chance to just those kids who just thirst for knowledge and the joy of learning, and you get a chance to experience that. And it was not a difficult decision. I said, I'm coming back to teaching, and this is the joy I have every day. Because
it's the profession that makes all professions, John. That's what Josh says all the time. Well, thank you for sharing, Jonathan, ISS teacher. Oh my goodness, tell us who or what motivated you to be a phenomenal ISS teacher?
So Sonia Cranford is my wife, and she is who inspired me. She is an unparalleled master teacher. She's going on year 17, so she got about 3 more years on me. And she just makes everyone around her better. She's what they call a lead teacher and coach, or LTAC, similar to, I think, what Christopher Love does. And she just raises the bar for everyone around her and is amazing. And she inspires me every day.
Awesome. Thank you. And last but not least, Adriana, how is La Promesa? And tell me who or what motivated you to become an educator of a very special place in Texas?
Well, I would have to say, just like Christopher, my mom was definitely the inspiration behind me becoming an educator. My mom was an elementary educator or a teacher for a long time. And I grew up in schools, same thing, weekends, summers, just grew up in school. So I've kind of just been running around schools since I could probably walk. So that was definitely the reason that I always wanted to be a teacher. I was a weird kid who was already planning where her word wall would be when I was like in the 5th grade. So that's just kind of where I've been. And then to become an English teacher, those were just my favorite subjects in school throughout my time in school. Middle school, Mr. Hill, he recently just passed, and he was one of my biggest inspirations to become an English teacher. He introduced me to my favorite books, and I just kind of wanted to be the same kind of person for other people. And then to teach newcomers, it was kind of something I was just thrown into, like literally just like, hey, we're gonna switch people's around and schedules around. And you're gonna start teaching ESL kids." And I was just like, "Okay." That was my first year teaching, and
Oh my
but
goodness.
I honestly fell in love with it. It just really, again, brought out so much more of what I thought I would be as a teacher, especially because I come from an immigrant family. My dad moved here to the United States when he was about 12 years old, and being able to incorporate like and honor both of my parents is just a dream come true.
I'm super excited, and I know we're going to get to some of those things that you're talking about in just a few minutes. So hold on to those thoughts, because we're going to talk about those things, because it's important for us to share those ideas, right? Because it's important. It's important to you, and thank you so much for sharing. Because it's important for all of us to know, or everybody out in the audience to know, who or what inspired you, right? Because you can hear some of you guys were inspired by former teachers. So you never know, teachers out there, who you're going to inspire as your students to be future teachers. So keep planting those seeds.
So part of the conversation has to do with, we all know that there's a big exodus in our profession. It's hard to hire people right now. We can't find. We have vacancies all over. We've had so many guests, right, Dr. Moreno? And they say they still have vacancies. We've talked to so many administrators, superintendents. We've talked to so many on the show, and they say there's still tons of vacancies out there. And a lot of times people have this idea that you have to be this perfect individual to become an educator. And the thing is, you know what? No, you don't. Not everyone's Adrienne. Not everyone has their dolls lined up with word walls in 5th grade. Not everyone has that. So just real quick, tell the audience, how were you as a student, either high school or college? We don't need to go into all the dark stuff, all right? But how are you as a student in high school or college? And how was your first year as a teacher, Phil?
I think as a student, I really enjoyed school. It was very natural for me. I like to learn. I really enjoyed the adult relationships with my teachers. So school was a really positive experience for me. And I think I fit really naturally in there, which I know isn't the case for everyone. So when I came into the role as my first year as a teacher, I really tried to come and bring a lot of energy and just model a lot of the teachers that I admired. And the ones I admired the most were the ones that I felt like I connected with personally, almost felt like an extension of my family, like maybe a distant uncle or aunt that I knew I could lean on. And I felt like even though I knew I wasn't perfect, I didn't know all the tricks, I didn't have all the classroom management strategies, I tried to be transparent with them that I was there for them, I was there to support them, and that they could come as they were. And I think that served me well throughout my career, not just my first, but most definitely I've learned a lot in the last 20 years. But starting off, I just tried to be genuine that I was there for them. And I think it worked well for me.
Love it. Love it. Hey, John, give me 100% answer right there.
That's just inspiring. That's absolutely inspiring, Phil. I was the guy in school that I was the gifted and talented kid, but was too loud. And teachers would harness my energy sometimes, but I didn't have an off switch. And what I have found is I kind of connect with those kids the best in high school as a teacher now. I've got the introverted kids, the emerging bilingual kids, 504 accommodated kids, SPED kids, that we're all in that class together, and I love them all equally. But I harness those extroverted kids to try to ride that lightning that they bring to the class. And that was the same energy that I did. And I had a coach named Julian Spain. I still stay in touch with Coach Spain. He's out in North Carolina right now. And he'll send me a Facebook message, et cetera, and said, I knew you would be the teacher that you became. I didn't. He knew it. 1981, I'm dating myself. But yes, 1981, he said, you're going to do this.
Love it. Lynn Lucas.
Well, I definitely, as I said, I was a lifelong student. I loved school. Like, I loved learning. It was like easy for me, I was comfortable there, like Bill said, and I felt like I belonged there. But my first year at MPA was like a total culture shock, because like I had been comfortable in a classroom forever. on both the student and the teaching side at university. And then I walked into that room, and the reality of having a class where they did not understand anything that I was saying. And I'm like, oh, yeah, they don't understand, and it's like, and they're here and I'm here with them, and we're here till the bell rings, and we've got to do this thing together. And so my first year, I just always felt sort of, I just felt inadequate. Like I didn't know what was going on. Like, I didn't know if I was getting through all the time. But I did always try to be genuine and just try to communicate my love for the kids, and that, I was here to help them, and we were here together in this. And, that we aren't striving for perfection. We're just trying to get a little bit better every day. And now 5 years later, it's, night and day.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that story. Adrienne, talk to people.
As a student, as you know, Mr. Tovar, I was a little bit of an overachiever. I tried to do everything and know everything because I needed to know, Mr. Tovar, right? But I also I loved school. It was a place for me to grow and to become a better person. And also it also took me away from a lot of the issues and problems that I was going on at home. And I needed that. I really needed it as a student, or as a young person trying to figure out the world, a very confusing life that I had growing up. And I was lucky enough to have mentors and teachers that really took care of me in that sense. In college, though, I did kind of struggle at first, just because I was such an overachiever that I wanted to be the best at everything all the time. And when I failed my first test, I cried. But that was just because I needed to really go back and really figure out what skills that I was taught to do better. And I had a couple of teachers that really gave me those skills. So I had to really go back and really use those to do better as a college student. And that's kind of just what I'm inspired to do as well, is just to kind of try to prepare our kids for what's to come. And then as a first year teacher, honestly, that year is a blur. I don't really it was just a lot. It was a lot of relearning things and a lot of regrouping and rethought and just kind of taking everything in. And it was a really difficult year. I'm not gonna lie. But I really feel like if you can get through that first year teaching, you can get through it all.
And it's valuable, Adrienne. It's valuable that you say that, because most of you know me. I'm straight out 100%. And I'm just letting you know, you got to tell people out there. Some people are going to have a glorious first year. Some people are just going to be the worst year of their professional career ever. So thank you for opening yourself up with that. And full disclosure, everybody, that young lady, I've known her since she was a freshman in high school. I was her assistant principal for 4 years. I've known her since she was just, forget about it. So we've matched up for many years. Jonathan.
Oh man, I knew you were going to call on me. So I learned to hate school at a very early age. I was one of those ADHD kids, but it was in the early 80s, so before everybody else got ADHD. So I went undiagnosed until high school. And I'm not going to give you all the gory details, but by the time I was 18, I had fully dropped out and had a baby on the way. So thankfully, I was able to turn things around when my daughter was born, and with the help of a social worker. So Fabiola from the Healthy Families Program in Corpus Christi, shout out if you're out there. You changed my life. Thank you so much. My first year as a teacher, I struggled mightily, just like most of us do. There's just so many skill sets you're trying to learn. You're learning classroom management, which is its own thing. You're learning your curriculum. You're learning how to present that curriculum to kids. And then I'm also, everybody on my campus is a special education teacher also. So I was learning SPED at that time, which is its whole own vocabulary. I'm learning how to write IEPs and PLAF statements. And since it's a therapeutic campus, I'm working with kids who can easily become violent. I'm learning de-escalation and having to implement it on a daily basis. So I didn't feel comfortable as a teacher until like midway through year 3. And then it was still kind of touchy. So that was my first 3 years.
Thank you, brother, for sharing. And thank you for opening your all these stories. It's crucial. Brian.
Yeah, so I'm someone who always loved school. I come from a small town, so just like the whole community is based around the school. You know every single person that's in your class, and so I really enjoyed it. My first year, I got hired. I went to taught at the same elementary school that I went to, and just like everybody else, it is extremely hard. My first year was in kindergarten, and they ran circles around me. And if it wasn't for the grace of an amazing administrator, if it wasn't for the grace and help from some, my basketball coach, he was the phys ed teacher there. He took me under his wing. And I knew several of the other teachers, they took me under their wing. And, it just shows like those mentors, the people that can influence you. And now as we all get older and we see some of these younger teachers coming in, it's remembering what those first few years were like for us and the grace and the encouragement and just like you were talking about, the supporting and promoting that we can give to others.
Thank you, Brian. Chris.
Yes, so I enjoyed school just like many on the panel. I really loved school. I think my mother being a teacher, I was just around the school setting so much that, you learn to love it. And I had great teachers and great experiences, even up through my first few years of college. So everything was really good and really positive. My first year of teaching, of course, there were many times where I felt inadequate, like Dr. Lucas said, and just everything just seemed so fast paced and everything like that. And I'm very appreciative of my mentor teachers that really took me under their wing and helped me and allowed me to reflect and rant about things. And they were patient with me as well as really talked me through and coached me through a lot of different instances. So I really appreciate those mentors because, again, your first year can be really tough, right?
For real.
Awesome. Thank you. Dr. Moreno.
So what amazing stories, and thank you all for sharing and opening up. We're going to start kind of getting into really why you guys are here. And that's because you guys are all amazing leaders on your campus. So I want to start off with giving you guys an opportunity to share with everybody out in the audience what type of support or what is the best support, I guess I should say, a teacher can get from two different people. The first person would be central office. So what is a best support that you can get from them? And then the second one is from your school administrator. So we're going to start off with, and I have my notes here, we're going to start off with Dr. Lucas.
Okay, so that's a hard one to answer. In terms of central office, I don't actually have a lot of interaction with our central office. I would say
important to discuss. I mean, I'm glad you say that too, right? Because I think the people out in central office who will be hopefully looking at this broadcast will see and understand that we need to get into these classrooms, right? So that we can see what we need to support our teachers. So thank you for sharing that with us.
I mean, we do get support from like the multilingual department, they travel around to the different schools and everything. And we have Margaret Rutacchio there, and she's like a wonderful, wonderful support, just in terms of, because she sees things in different campuses, she can sort of like help you gain perspective. And that's been very helpful. Just sometimes you're just like, how, and she's like, well, in this school, here's what they do. And maybe we can try this. And so just having somebody come in with a perspective is good, from other places. So I guess that would apply to anybody from the central office or from off campus. And then regarding just the administrators, just having your back, man, when you have a problem in your classroom or just maybe with the student, maybe you're having an issue communicating with another staff member or whatever, but just knowing you can go to your administration and talk to them and be like, hey, this is how it is. And however they can help, they do, which doesn't mean that they're necessarily, yes, you're completely 100% right. And we're going to support exactly what you say, but more like, hey, we're going to help you work through this so that we can all work together, moving forward, and we're all comfortable and so just knowing that they're there to help you, even if it's not the way you might imagine that you need help all the time.
Absolutely. Even just answering questions, right, is also helpful. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Jonathan.
Well, as it relates to school discipline, which is my end of the rainbow, it's not the pot of gold end of the rainbow, but it is my end of the rainbow, and I'll own it. And speaking to teacher retention, the way that we can, the problem that we're talking about is complex. The solution is a little less complex, but the problem is complex. Let's see if I can define it for you. So one of the issues that we're having just generally in the US is that we've got classrooms are becoming more difficult to manage, and the teachers aren't coming in with the skill set to do that sort of classroom management. It's not taught in teacher school really, and it's definitely not coming out of the alternative certification programs where I came from. So you've got a more difficult to manage on the behavior side. And on the other side, what we have is from the admin side, we're explicitly telling teachers, well, here's what a classroom managed behavior is, and here's what an office managed behavior is. And so what the teachers are hearing, I think, a lot of the time is, don't bother us with anything that's not an officially office managed behavior. Oh, and by the way, the solution, if it does get handled by the office, is generally going to be out of school suspension or in school suspension. There's going to be some detentions along the way, but eventually it's going to escalate up to that point. And we know that both of those are highly ineffective for students. And what we don't talk about is that how much a one or more day placement of in-school suspension or out-of-school suspension becomes such a burden for the teacher. Absolutely. Right? Because those kids are now coming back to you one or more days behind in instruction, typically. True. So what the teacher is seeing is that, hey, this is ineffective and this is more difficult. So it's making my job harder. So what you get from that is, I either have to work harder on my end to make to catch the student up, or I have to kind of write them off and just be okay with the poor data coming from that, poor testing data coming from that student. So now it's affecting the teacher, it's affecting the student, obviously, and the data is coming back poor. So now it's all the way up to the administrator, right? So the issue then is that now we have teachers who are underreporting, right? So it's hard to get, even under the best of circumstances, it's hard to get accurate behavior data from a campus. And so you could be, as it relates to teacher retention, you could be in a death spiral as an administrator and not even know it, because the teachers don't feel supported, but they're not reporting anything because they've learned to be quiet about it, because it's just easier to deal with the stuff rather than alert anybody or even talk about it. So there's two ways that we can fix this issue. I feel like on the tier one side, the one thing that we can do is we can start training and coaching our teachers when it comes to classroom management in a big way, both with traditional classroom management, and I'm talking about Dr. Harry Wong, The First Days of School, Chapter 3, if you want to read the whole book. That stuff is still very effective, but also what we really need to also start focusing on, and we know how to do this, is teach our teachers about how to be emotionally regulated, so that their emotional state is not tied to their students' behavior or the level of respect that they're receiving from the student, so that they can now embody or model appropriate emotional regulation for their students. But that's a big thing. And then when it comes to out of school suspension, in school suspension, out of school suspension, my side of things, the tier 2 level stuff, for out of school suspension, I mean, we know it's not effective. It's not helping anyone. I've been part of conversations with admin where I've heard them say things like, well, you know, the parent isn't, you know, doing anything on their end, or they're not supportive enough, so the kid can go home and they can pay the price by having to deal with their kid for a couple of days at home. And my reaction to that is simply one, you know, we're part of the village that is raising this child. We're like 75% of it, because the parent sees the kid in the morning and then, you know, maybe for 30 minutes during dinner, and then the kid's off in the room watching TikTok. So we're seeing them a lot more. We're part of the village raising this kid, whether the parent's supportive or not. And when has inconveniencing a parent with their child ever made somebody a better parent, right? So I don't think OSS should be used as much. It should be very selective in how we administer it. And then when it comes to in-school suspension, you know, obviously traditional in-school suspension hasn't worked. What I do is called trauma-informed in-school suspension. It's based on trauma-informed teaching practices. And we can leverage, if we can start training our teachers on proper in-school suspension, we can now give administrators a tool they can use to leverage their ISS so that they can improve their behavior data, support their teachers. The kids are coming back with no days of missed instruction. They're actually supported. It's an intervention, both behavior and academic. And, you know, you can support your teachers in that way and have just a better outcome at the tier 2 level. So that's my response on how we can be supportive, both from at the admin level and from the.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And that was so detailed. And I'm sure you're going to tell us all about the book later on, right? Because it's all in the book.
Happy to.
Brian, how about you?
Yeah, you know, I'll keep mine pretty simple. I think from central office, good professional development. You know, the more that you can teach the teachers, the best strategies out there, the better it is. And then from, you know, the administration, just support. Like Dr. Lucas said, you know, knowing that the people that are leading us have our back, are there to support us with our needs, whether the academic piece, the students, the parents, it means so much. So
Absolutely. Phil, again, at the admin level, right? And then from central office.
Yeah, central office.
You.
I would say the central office kind of sets the tone and bar as far as like curriculum and state standards. So as a new teacher coming in, they help you really figure out what is expected of you to reach and give to your students. And then also they're super supportive for anyone with families, like in the world of insurance and benefits, which plays a humongous role in our, you know, survival and well-being as well. So to have that support from central office, to know that I do have a job, I can help my family, and that can relieve a level of one layer of stress, so we can show up to work and focus on helping kids the best of our ability. So a strong central office can do that so that everything is clear. And as far as an administrative office, I think that open dialogue, creating a culture where we can be vulnerable, sincere, and honest, and also understand that we don't have to completely agree, but that we can still be transparent and clear. And that what do we do to move forward? Is this a problem that is looked at as me and my problem? And how do you support that teacher to move forward? Or is this a systemic problem that we all need to work towards? But I really do think clear, transparent, vulnerable dialogue often solves a lot of problems, or at least allows people to feel heard, even if it's something that isn't easily fixed. One of the reasons why Jonathan wrote a book, right? It's not easily fixed quickly, but that doesn't mean it's impossible, right? But we have to at least be heard so that we can all walk forward together.
I love that. And thank you for sharing, but you're absolutely right. Christopher.
So from central office, I agree with Brian, just having really strong targeted professional developments, as well as stakeholders from central office coming to the schools and collaborating or working with the teachers themselves. And then that way they build that culture of collaboration. From the administrative standpoint, I think, again, just support. And I think from my view, just differentiated support, because each teacher needs something different, right? So there might be teachers that they just need to talk to the administrator and vent, because they're going through something for 10 to 15 minutes, or
Mhm,
something's
mhm,
happening and they need more of that away from work support. But
mhm.
then for myself, like we alluded to earlier, I'm more into what I love about my administrators is they really try to promote me, um, really try to help me,
Yeah.
open doors for me to progress in my career. So I
Mhm.
just think, again, from administrators, it just depends on what each teacher needs and just being able to give that differentiated support depending
It's
on what those
personalized,
personalized.
professional development,
Yes.
right? When you're making it about yourself and how do you get better? I love that. Thank you. Adrian.
I think it can actually be summed up in both, with both, like, to both, I guess, the district central office and
Uh-huh.
to administrators. Um, Two things. One, just like Christopher was saying, like, specific support towards our teachers. And I think the only way to really do that is to listen to teachers, to listen to us. Send out the surveys, send out the messages, send out the videos, send out whatever it is that you need to do to get the information you need, that what about what we need specifically, that would be perfect. Come to visit our classrooms. I know that a lot of us are a little nervous when people walk into our classrooms, but at least in my sense, like, I would much rather have someone come in and see what it is that I need, what it is that I would need help with, um, and give me the feedback that I really appreciate, and also, not just give me the feedback, but give me the coaching that I need for my classroom. If we want to differentiate lessons for our kids, because again, we have kids at all different levels. We also have teachers that teach very differently in all aspects. We also have um, things that are more specific to our demographic of student, and all of the things that we need. So specific feedback. Also, just paying attention to us. Like, please listen to teachers. Um, and when we have that support and we feel like we're being listened to, we're gonna be more, we're gonna get more stuff done.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to administrators, like on our home campus, just again, the coaching to specifically what we need, like, listen to what we need, listen, and we will greatly love to be able to give back to or take that feedback, as long as it's constructive, as long as it's appropriate, and then also just, again, cater to what we need as teachers specifically.
Awesome. Well, thank you, John.
Very cool, guys. Thank you.
I love-
Those are great notes. Go ahead.
I love all of these answers. They're just this is like a PD session right here. If we would just lay this out to teachers. As far as the central office, we at Garland ISD, we enjoy great support from our central office. I'm just going to put that out there because they do a good job of what Dr. Moreno, you opened the session with, and talk about promoting teachers. And what I like that our district does is they put a teacher out front when we start doing major program changes, or we're trying to evolution, whether it's gifted and talented or sheltered instruction or anything like that. They do it with a teacher in mind before they execute. And that's something I would advise all central offices. Programs are going to change. Data collection methods are going to change. But remember, most of the training of teachers happens on the campus by other teachers. And as we bring these first and second year folks in, we seasoned veterans, I heard that beautiful term used, we seasoned veterans are the ones taking care of the newbies. When you change a program, we become newbies at that point. So slow down that implementation until we've had a chance to master and grasp it, and then we will make magic happen. And that's what we take great pride in. My advice for admin, again, this goes to my military officer background. Lead the way you want to be led. Our assistant principals and principals have been classroom instructors. How did you want to be facilitated, developed, talked to, etc. And when you bring that teacher mindset with you when you're doing your administrator duties, it's a great partnership, and you're going to be ultimately effective because you still speak the language of the classroom.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. And you know what? All of y'all had a different perspective of looking at how admin will support you. So thank you. Thank you so much. And Adrian, thank you for being so open. I know you're still in the first 5 years. And so welcoming that constructive feedback is so essential and so important, because I want you to be one day the teacher of the year for the state of Texas, because you work with such a phenomenal group of individuals. So thank you so much for sharing, and all of y'all for sharing what school support and what campus administrators can do to support y'all.
Thank you very much. Just real quick, I'm trying to get rid of that message right there. Hey, as you've seen the evolution of your profession since the second that you sat in the interview chair to the time that HR called you, obviously the field has changed, correct? So I want you to throw out some quick advice to that graduating senior from college, or maybe that freshman in high school that wants to become a teacher. Let them know what you've observed since the second that you became an educator to right now. What do you want to tell them about our beautiful profession, Chris?
What I would tell that graduating senior in college is just, you're going to make mistakes, so don't worry. Number 2, reflect every day. Reflection is one of the best ways to grow. 3, find really good mentors. Usually your school district or your school will assign you one, but outside of that, really find just really good, positive people to mentor you. And then the last thing I would tell them is just make sure that you're passionate about this work. You don't have to know everything. You don't, of course, you're gonna learn. It's a learning process, but nonetheless, in order for you to really do well and not get burnt out, you have to really be passionate about working with kids. So just really make sure that you are passionate about that aspect. So that's what I would tell them.
Thank you. Would like to welcome Dot McKeever-Cheever, who was asking me, aren't you on Facebook today? Sorry. Dot, thank you for being here, part of the family. Hey, Phil, talk to us.
Appreciate it. I think that I would say show up leading with love. When we lead with love first, and we assume the best in humans, that's going to often lead us in the right direction. We're here to serve and help others grow, and having the mentality, I think, will serve them well. And the last thing I would say is just be prepared to constantly learn. That no matter what we do, we'll always be continuing to learn and changing and pivoting and shifting. It's just we have a dynamic job because humans are complex and dynamic. Be ready for that, and a lot will fall into place.
Beautiful. Brian.
I mean, everybody, Chris and Phil just dropped some gems right there. And so finding those mentors, reflecting, giving yourself that room for growth. I mean, we talk about growth to our students. We got to give that to ourselves. And, I'll go a little different tangent, and I'll say what I've learned over the past 20 years is really paying attention to the voices that you allow to take space in your head, because they can have a big role in burnout and the mentality that you bring to the classroom every single day. And also, what are you holding on to when you go home at nighttime? Because every single day there's going to be variables. There's going to be things that rock you, that are tough, but there's also those joyful moments. And what am I being deliberate on as far as grabbing and holding on to?
Yes, sir. Lynn.
Well, it's hard to add anything to what, has been said, but what I will say, just reiterating, give yourself some grace. I know we're here to help the kids and they're having a hard time, but man, it's tough in there in that classroom sometimes, and we're not always going to get it right. But that's okay. I mean, just show up, be there, willing to work, willing to do the job, and just give yourself a break every now and then, and just, take a breath and keep going, and just don't give up.
John, anything else?
I'm going to say two things to graduating seniors: buckle your chin strap and enjoy the ride. There's nothing like being a teacher.
Exactly. Hey, close it off there, Jonathan. Anything?
I mean, how do I follow that? Yeah, so I agree with everybody. You know, this is a great profession. It's also very challenging. You're going to have those moments where you struggle and those moments that you don't particularly like or enjoy when you're going through them, but that is where the growth comes. And there is no greater vehicle for personal growth than becoming a teacher, because you're going to learn so much from them. While you're trying to teach them, you're going to learn so much about yourself. And if you just focus on, if you celebrate those moments where you're like, man, that was really hard, or I really didn't like that, or I had a really bad interaction, that's when you grow. That's my best advice.
Beautiful. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. So, you know, we all have success stories. As a principal, let me tell you, 30 years in education, I can tell you some stories. So I'm hoping you guys can kind of look back, think back of that one successful story that still kind of, you know, resonates in your mind about, it could be a student, it could be a teacher, it could be, you know, a situation. So tell us real quickly, a success story that you had in the classroom. And if you can also share with me a problem which you would have handled differently or handled better, if you will. And we're going to start off with Adrian.
Oh man. Okay. So a success and a challenge, I guess. This is a hard one. I think
Can I come back to you, or are you okay?
no, I think I'm okay.
Okay.
I think one of the biggest successes that I've had, I think, is just seeing how much the kids that were in my classroom have grown. I'm probably going to talk about this certain student a little later also, but I had a student that was like very, very anxious all the time, which is me in a nutshell also. But he was going through a lot, and I can tell. I mean, especially with our population of student, they come from a different country. They've only been in the country for no more than 3 years. Some of them have left their family behind. But this particular student was going through a lot, and I can tell he was a good student, very sweet, very just a good kid. But I think a lot of the times good kids go unnoticed also.
Absolutely.
And now he's a senior in high school. He's about to graduate. And he is just a very different kid, so happy. Like, he runs up and down the hallways. He's just shows so much more enthusiasm for life and for learning and for just in general. Like, he is just a different kid, and has grown so much. And just, he's not the only one. In these last 4 years being at La Promesa, all of those kids that are going to graduate this year have had that kind of growth. One of our kids too just recently he already got his acceptance into Lone Star, which is the Houston, which is a junior, or I guess community college here in Houston, and he's going to go into the mechanic programs. And that kid also, we had to switch him from teachers like 2 or 3 times the first year we had him. But just that amount of growth that you can see in the kids, I think, has been my biggest success story.
And a challenge? Is there a challenge that you want to share that you said, you know what, I could have done that differently?
I think going back to my first and second year of teaching, I think the whole idea of giving myself grace and making sure that just making sure that I was taking care of myself a little more.
Mhm.
I think that would have helped me a lot. Also, not taking things so personally, because kids are kids and they're going to say things that you don't like sometimes. Administrators
Absolutely.
are going to say things that you don't like sometimes.
Mhm.
And just being able to kind of let those things go and make the next day a brand new day. I think that's kind of where I would have
Those are two great examples.
would
Yeah,
have
those are two great examples that you can definitely have done differently, right?
yeah, just like let things go and just continue to know that. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but I didn't really get to give my advice for New Year teachers. But uh I would just say that, like, just make sure that you know that what you're doing every day is worth it, and
Mhm.
that you are enough. I completely fell into this hole of like feeling like I was failing as a first and second year teacher. And now that I reflect and look back after 10 years of having that experience under my belt, like, I wasn't failing. Like, I was learning, I was growing, and I was still able to make an impact in the kids' lives regardless of how much stress I was under.
Yeah, sometimes you have to fail to succeed, right? I mean,
Exactly.
and I think that's important to realize.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Christopher, what success story can you share?
Yes, so there's been quite a few, but I'll just focus on this one example. So I had a
Okay.
young lady in my class a few years ago, and she had a reading exceptionality, and of course, she struggled and everything like that. However, just throughout the first quarter, using various reading strategies and really connecting with her and trying to show her the joy of reading and finding finding genres that she was interested in. When we took our middle of the year benchmark, she scored in the above level for the various reading components, and
Awesome.
it was about 2 to 3 grade levels of growth, and that was great. But the part that was even better was every day after that quarter, she was like, I'm reading this new book. Oh, I read this. Oh, these are some of the vocabulary words that I wrote down today in her little journal. And it was amazing just to see how she just immersed herself into reading.
She
And
tasted
that,
success. That's what she did.
yes, so that was exciting. And that just really warmed my heart to see that. I guess one instance, a challenge that I had, I believe it was my second year of teaching, and I had a student, and he had just a few things with his behavior, and we had a good relationship most of the year. He loved telling me different jokes, and we would come in, and I would try to take 5 minutes each day to talk to him about just different things. Well, one day I wasn't having the best day, and he was having a rough day, and he refused to do his work, and I told him, okay, well, if you're not going to do your work, I'm going to have to call home and everything like that. And he got really upset and flipped his desk. And I pulled him outside and I kind of really laid into him. And then for the rest of the year, he was very withdrawn.
Mm.
Fortunately, we were able to repair the relationship down the road. But if I could do that again, I would definitely have been more patient, more empathetic, and just really spoke to him and saw what the root was of his frustration and checked to myself, regulated myself. So that's what
I
I would
love
have
that, Christopher. Repairing the harm. I
done.
love that. That is wonderful. It's something along the lines with you, Jonathan, right? Restorative. So can you tell me a question, a story, Jonathan?
Do you want a story or a success?
Success story. Sorry. You got it. It
I
was
got
just a
plenty of
great
stories.
segue to what you do. That's why.
That was an excellent segue. I commend you on your segue. So yeah, my success. I haven't had a student go from in-school suspension to out-of-school suspension in over 3 years. We're at pretty much 100% assignment completion for every student in ISS for all core contents. I'd say 99% of the time. There's a few exceptions. That's a success story. The thing I wish I could have done better is, I've been doing ISS for about 6 years now. And when we first started, the way it worked was, basically what happens when you become an in-school suspension teacher, for those of you who are curious, is they hand you the keys. The last person who had it hands you the keys and says, okay, well, good luck. And that's the job. So just make sure, 10 kids go in and 10 kids come out at the end of the day, and we're happy. So in the beginning, the way the system was set up was that if you reached a certain point on the behavior ladder, then the consequence was out of school suspension. It was like, hey, you just didn't make it. Parents can come pick you up, or, you just don't come back tomorrow, and you can serve the rest of your time at home. And that always felt like a failure to me. So it took a couple of years to figure the system out, but it took about 2 years. And then, since then, I haven't really had any kids, go that route anymore. There's no more out of school suspension, but it took time.
Awesome. I know. I love it. I love the fact that you said it takes time, because it's true. But we got to get better, right? Better and better. We got to practice. Brian.
Yes, I will go with a success story. Last year, I had a young student come in, and they were started with me about 3 weeks after the school year started. And I'm working with the young man, just trying to get a feel where he's at academically. And far below like a normal second grade reading level. And I'm just trying to get a feel for it. And he looks up at me when I give him a little assessment. He goes, and it was so matter of fact. He's like, I can't read. And, I was like, yes, you can. Don't ever say that. And it took time. And throughout the course of the year, he got better. And it was just fueling that belief in him. And he left, he was one of the students that, that's very transient. He left before the end of the year, but it was seeing not only the academic gains they had, but the belief in himself. Mm-hmm. And like fueling that belief that no matter where you're at, you can see that growth and achieve those things. So that was definitely the big success. And I would say the issue that I found a problem for myself, we talked about how key reflection is, because we're always, going so full bore steam ahead. Like I would strengthen up if I could go back my reflection process, starting like what would I start, stop, continue? What would I start tomorrow that I should have done today? What would I stop doing tomorrow that I did today? And what would I continue doing tomorrow that I did today?
I love that. I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And Dr. Lucas.
I guess success I've been thinking about is, well, for one thing, it's at our school, like a lot of our students, they leave, like we might have them a month or two, we don't necessarily get to have them for very long to see their growth. Because they go to their home school, and then we may not hear from them again. But there is a student that we had at the end of last year that I still have in class this year, and he came in illiterate in his native language, couldn't read or write in his native language, and so when he was in class, like he just didn't do anything because he didn't have those skills. Like he hadn't been in school, and he would try to copy the letters in English, but he didn't really know how to make them, and so it was challenging just to keep him busy and doing something in class and to get him to learn like anything, because he was disinterested, because he didn't know at all what was going on. But this year, I've had him, and just from the very beginning of the year, he was very engaged and very much like wanting to learn and coming up and, Miss, please help me, and like asking for help now and showing me his work. And when I, be like, no, that's not correct. And, he'd, go but he would work on it, and he would, like come back, and he's shown so much growth and so much improvement. And, although he's still like fairly behind and academically, like his growth as a student, just, in the whole, like accepting that he's here to learn and wanting to get the most out of his school experience, like that's been really rewarding to see. And so that would be my success story, I suppose. And I've been trying to think of, like a situation that I would sort of do differently. And I think for me, it's that, in the past, I would excuse students a lot. I'd be like, well, they don't know the language. They're going through a hard time or whatever. And I would kind of let things slide that I shouldn't, and I think that with what I know now, I know that if I expect my students to do X, Y, or Z, they will do that. Like they can do that, even if they don't understand the language, even if they're not quite sure what's going on. If I tell them, like, you're going to write 3 sentences about this, and you're going to do it before class ends, like they will do it. There's no
Into expectations.
Yeah, it's like I think it
Absolutely.
that just took time for me to learn that, really, like, those students will rise up. But you do have to, like, be firm about it.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. And John, real quickly, what is a success story?
Well, let me start with a do-over that I would do.
Oh,
The things
good.
I love what Christopher had said about being empathetic and what Brian had talked about. We all do this. We're humans. We do this and we lose our temper. And it's a stressful job. There's long hours. We're very passionate. We're very emotional. And I think of those occasions when I was new to the profession, I would overtalk a student or raise my voice at a reprimand level to correct the situation without realizing there's 29 other kids who were not acting out. And it's hard to bring that back. I've gotten a lot more empathetic, compassionate, controlled, mature, whatever you want to say. Because of that, I'm able to resolve these classroom discipline matters because I turn them on the spot rather than shut them down. And as far as the successes, what I would say for any of us teachers, man, we're not going to reach them all. I got a chance to speak at our Garland ISD convocation. We had about 8,000 teachers. And I said, guys, we're not going to reach them all. But oh my goodness, the ones we do. All it takes is one kid and that one victory lap that you do for that one day, and it makes the whole day. And I think that's what we all will treasure and remember forever, those individual success stories where we turn one kid.
What a great way to end that that line of question, right? Absolutely. Thank you. And I agree with you. Every student counts. You're absolutely right. But we got to focus on the ones that we can. And then it'll take some time to get with the rest, right? But we got to really stress and work really hard with our kids. So thank you. Thank you so much, Josh.
John, what troubles you at night about our profession?
Right now, the biggest trouble we have is that teachers themselves aren't talking good about it. And it's hard to bring people in with social media explosions and a lot of groups that just wind up just bringing up all the negativity. And that is our biggest hurdle. It's going to take some folks to say, you know what, it is a profession, but it's a calling as well. And it's going to take that positive affirmation to come out. I love what Jonathan's bringing to us with the ISS, and that's got to be a new focus because that addresses the kids that oftentimes create the most angst for teachers, and that tends to create the most negative responses. So I think when those of us who truly do see the value of what we do, when we can be more vocal and more enthusiastic, be authentic, as I saw one of the comments that came in. Be authentic, but yeah, stop the negativity on the campus, and more people will come to your campus.
Amen. Jonathan, what troubles you at night?
Yeah, thank you, John. I appreciate that. So I think what bothers me the most still is that there's some leftover prevailing attitude from the 1990s when we had those zero tolerance policies. And there's still some of those folks who think that we need to make the consequences as punitive as possible because that will prevent misbehavior, which we know not to be true. And I think that if we just start thinking of it, and I have no issues with consequences. I am the consequence for many of the students on our campus, but we need to begin thinking of our consequences more as interventions rather than punishments.
Beautiful. Brian, what troubles you at night?
Yeah, I'm going to just go right off of what John was saying as far as how we talk about the profession and what we hold on to. like on a personal level, on what I give out, that's going to affect everything around me. And on an internal level, what I choose to listen to, what I choose to hold on to, it's going to set the tone.
Amen. Adrienne, what troubles you at night?
Being anxiety driven, there's a lot, but the culture that is being presented in the world, or I guess more specifically in the nation right now, about immigrant families and immigrant communities. There's a lot of harm and a lot of language and bad, just bad things being said about certain types of people. But a lot of the times people forget that the people that they're talking about are kids that still have every right to an education, are very deserving of, just because they're children, are very deserving of what they need, of an education and people that care about them and love them. And I think that's the hard part, that a lot of the times goes unnoticed, is that our profession is very, very heart driven. Like, we need to take care of our hearts, and we need to take care of the hearts of the kids, make sure they're eating, make sure they're feeling good, because if not, then the academic part isn't going to be there, isn't going to be able to be there. So it's really difficult, especially when it's such the climate is so heated. However, what we do need to focus on is what we can do in our classroom, and make sure that that culture and that love is right where we can where we can make a difference. And regardless of what's going on in the world, our classroom is a world that we can control, and we can make sure that our kids are feeling loved and cared for.
Thank you. Chris, what keeps you up at night?
Just a variety of things. Again, the negativity that swirls around education. We do so many amazing things in education, whether it's teachers, administrators, just different stakeholders. But often, right, there's a message that is always presented as that's negative. So that's unfortunate. And then two, just I think that negative online culture that our children are exposed to, just seeing how it wears on them in various ways and it affects them. And then, trying to teach that trying to teach them in our classroom, and trying to support them with everything that's going on and everything that they're exposed to. So that is troubling to me.
Lynn, what keeps you up at night?
I think for me, it all ties into this growing sense within our country. Like, there's this loss of respect for just education in general. Like, people don't see the value in learning. Like, you've always had the kids who are like, well, what am I ever going to need to know about mitochondria in my real life? And like, I do get that, right? Like, okay, but it's, like, the things you learn in school, like, they inform your whole life for the rest of your whole life. And like, like just understanding where we are in the world and how we came to be where we are, like, that all, you view all of that through the lens of your education, right? Like, what the things that like your framework, like, that's what we're doing, is we're building the framework of the mind here. And I just feel like that gets lost, like people don't realize that anymore. Like, they've forgotten that that's what we're doing here, that it's 100% completely necessary and important to do, and it has value, and it has such integral value. Like, it's irreplaceable. Like, there's no other way to construct this.
Yeah.
And it feels like people forget. And I hate having to defend education and teaching. Like, why should I, like, I don't understand why you don't understand this, you know, like this should be basic, but it doesn't seem like it is so much anymore.
Thank you. Thank you for opening up, everybody. Just welcome to Sahud, part of our assistant principal roundtable number 2, past guest on the show, and everybody. And you know what, John? I just throw this one out there. This is MPA is my 13th school. All right. So, hey, everybody out there, there's some huge vacancies all over the country, all over your districts. If you're not happy with the grade level that you're at, put in your transfer, go to another school that you find happiness. If you're not happy at that district because they don't pay you enough, go to the next neighboring ISD.
Absolutely.
There's always a place for you to be happy. That way you don't chop block all the dedicated educators like on this panel that are working very hard. If you as an individual dislike your principal so much, that's fine. You're a free agent. That's where you have who supports you and who promotes you. And if you have somebody that wants you, hey, I'm not happy here, go let someone promote you because you know you're a dedicated person, or maybe you're the rock in the shoe. So that's something for us to think about. Dr. Moreno.
It's column mirror, Josh. It's column mirror. Okay, you guys, we are almost at 1 hour and 30 minutes. So this is going to be almost kind of little quick. So so please give us a strategy, but let's not make it too long. Okay. So just one strategy I'm looking for regarding discipline. Okay. So think of your classroom and what big topic or what strategy would you suggest will help avoid problems in your classroom, or anybody out there who's having discipline problems. So what's a good strategy? And I'm going to start off with Dr. Lucas.
For me, my best strategy is just being there right next to the students. Like, my eyes are on them, I'm standing next to them. Just being in proximity will keep them from straying too much off the path that you're setting for them. You know, when they know that you're watching, when they know that you can see them, you know, they tend to do the work instead of whatever else they might want to be doing. So that's what I do.
Awesome. So we have be present. Okay, so I'm going to write that strategy down. So be present. John, what is your strategy?
My 100% unequivocal answer, student engagement. Don't talk at the students. Get the students involved. We're about to have our fall break, and immediately after that, we're going to do Romeo and Juliet. And as soon as you tell 140-something 14-year-olds that we're going to read a 500-year-old play, the eyes are, oh, Mr. Murray, let's not do that. But in my class and my teammates here at Saxe High School, we don't read about the sword fight. We sword fight. We don't read about a ballroom dance. We ballroom dance. And we have the fight scenes and the death scenes and the balcony scenes, and they learn by doing, and everybody participates. So that is a classroom management technique for me. When the kids enjoy their learning by participating, you don't have the problems.
Awesome. So we have be present, student engagement. Adrienne, sorry.
Connect with your kids, know them, talk to them, make sure that they feel like they're involved in the classroom and in the discussion and in the lesson, so that they can feel safe and ready to participate. So just know your kids.
Got it. So we have be present, student engagement. I'm going to say connection, relationship. Okay, we're gonna connect that. Christopher.
No, I mean, you all basically said what I was going to say about connection, relationships, and proximity. One quick thing I'll add is chunking your lessons. Just 2 minutes here, 5 minutes here, 3 minutes here. I've noticed that over the past few years, when I chunk out my lessons and I break them up into small chunks, it goes faster for the students, and they feel a lot better about the pace of the class, and they're more engaged. So
awesome. Be present, student engagement, connection, relationship, chunking. Jonathan.
Hey, so if you're running a trauma-informed classroom, whether it's an in-school suspension room or just a regular classroom, you're focused on 4 things. That is safety, transparency, collaboration, and empowerment. So I'll give you one for safety. If you want to make your classroom feel safe, when you're going over your behavior ladder at the beginning of the year, or if you're doing a classroom reset or something like that, and yes, you need a behavior ladder and you need a seating chart, you're giving them your expectation of them. And they need that. They need to know exactly what your expectation is, but they also need to know what they can expect from you. So when you encounter, they need to know when you see disrespect, non-compliance, classroom disruption, those sort of things, they need to know upfront how you're going to handle those situations and what your response is going to be. And that response obviously cannot be sarcasm or yelling or losing your temper or anything like that. It needs to be a response that shows them how emotionally regulated you are, models emotional regulation for them, because you may be the only adult they come into contact with all day long in their life who is capable of modeling emotional regulation for them. So that is very, very valuable, and they're always going to remember that. So that's your safety strategy.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Brian, this is a hard one because we had 5 good strategies already, right? We just added safety to the mix. So do you have one more strategy we can squeeze out of you, buddy?
Yeah, well, it's so many phenomenal strategies. And I guess this goes with the relationships, and I'm with my crew all day long. So it might be, I only have, 18 to 20 some kids where, John was talking about 160 some. So you guys have a lot more students, but I look at like the relationships that I can form because I'm with them for so long. How do I celebrate them too? How are we celebrating our students?
Celebration. We'll end it up with celebrations. Make sure that you celebrate successes, right? And someone was talking about tasting that success and how they were really excited because that child tastes success. Sometimes we have to celebrate those students that have less discipline, right, Jonathan? Right? When they have less discipline, they had, fewer referrals this month than last month. Those kids need to feel that type of success, because guess what? That will then get duplicated and they're going to want some more of that. There's some kids that will never be successful if we don't celebrate the smaller successes.
Exactly like Dodd McKeever says, meet them where they're at. And it's closing time. Time to close that lesson, everybody, because it's the Échale Ganas question. Because this is called the PGP podcast, Puras Ganas. If you're in Wisconsin, if you're in Oregon, you're going to say ganas. What is ganas? Well, you know what? Let me tell you. That is a word of Hispanic culture that doesn't equate whatsoever what the dictionary says. It is a spiritual generational word that goes on from abuelita to abuelita all the way to the grandkids. And it's always to promote the hard work and the dedication. So right now, panel, I want you que le eches ganas, because I need you to inspire educators that are either coming back from break or about to take off to break. We got that all over the United States right now. So you all had homework to do. This is a lightning round. Everybody, lightning round, not to elaborate, because then I'll go, wah, next question. All right, I'll do that, Adrian. Rah. So here we go. Adrian, we're starting off with you, young lady, class of 08. Here we go. Give advice to either a teacher or an administrator.
Administrators, listen to your teachers. I've already said that one. So just listen
Read
to
a
your
note.
teachers.
All right. Lightning round, Adrian. Lightning round.
Go
Read
for
a
it.
note, an email, a text from a teacher or a student that wrote you, that inspired you.
Okay. Let me bring that up real quick. I'm sorry. It's the same kid that I was talking about earlier. Sorry, I should have had it up. I know. I'm sorry.
Adrian.
Here it is. It says, you were a wonderful teacher. You were a wonderful teacher. You always were making sure that not only me, but my other classmates were doing all right, not only with our grades, but in their personal lives. You helped me a lot when I was struggling with depression back then. Even made up an activity during the third period, so I felt supported by you and my other classmates. You were and you are a wonderful teacher, and not only that, but you are such a great person in general. He also
Eso.
he also
Send some flowers.
He also
Send some
mentioned
flowers to current, Adrian.
send some
Send some flowers to
I
current
will send
educator
flowers.
that inspires you.
I think you will know this name really well. Miss Whitney. I don't know where she is right now. Well, she's in El Paso, but taking care of kids, I'm sure. But Miss Whitney was one of my teachers in high school, and she was one of the first teachers that really took care of me like if I was one of her own biological children, and I don't know where I would be without her. So Miss Whitney, wherever you are, I love you.
She's a counselor at Urban High School, so reach out. Who should people follow on social media?
La Promesa. It's La Promesa _ AISD. Follow us and see the amazing things that are happening at our school.
What is one song that embodies you as a person? Una canción, no más una.
I'm gonna give this one to you, Mr. Tovar. The I Need to Know, because it's been a thing since we've had our when we used to eat cereal together in your office. I Need to Know by Mark Anthony, I believe. No, yes. Because I really do always need to know. My anxiety is always driving me and trying to figure out what's next. So that one I'm giving to you, Mr. Tovar.
What's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote, it's actually up back here. It's be a pineapple, stand tall, wear a crown, and be sweet on the inside.
What's your favorite cheat food?
I'm gonna, because I'm from El Paso, Chicos Tacos.
Right, yeah. How can people reach you?
A single with a hot dog.
How can people reach you?
My Twitter handle is down here, Adrienne08 Marie, and then also, of course, La Promesa, Twitter, and just yeah.
Beautiful. Brian, give advice to either a new teacher or administrator.
For all those new teachers, just remember, like, the greatest PD that you can have is probably happening right in your building. All right, check out the people all around you. There's so many great educators that we don't have to look far. It's just the person across the hall.
Beautiful. Read a note, an email, a text from a teacher or student that inspired you.
You know what? I take being at the younger level, one of my guys that has some high level energy this year. He drew a picture. It was him. He had a nice little swoosh for the Nike. Then he drew me right next to him, and he had my little like my ID badge on there, and I put it right by my desk. And anytime he's bringing some energy, and I need a reminder that I walk over there and take a look at that picture, and or at the end of the day, I need a good reminder how awesome the young man is. I just checked that out.
Beautiful. Send some flowers to a current educator that inspires you.
You know what? I think in this world, you know, Big Phil that was just on here, Phil Januszewski, he's part of MMP Presentations. His buddy Matt, that's part of that presentation, just ran an ultra marathon yesterday, 100 miles. And Phil shot me a text message yesterday, and he said, you know, I'm trying to fill Matt's phone up with all these positive messages. And so he sent that out to a bunch of people. I saw on Matt's Instagram that Phil filled his office with balloons. So it's just supporting the people around you. And I think that, you know, Phil embodied that. And shout out to Matt, 100 miles. It's pretty crazy.
Beautiful. Who should people follow on social?
My buddy, she's a Texan with all you great people on there. Dr. Amy Matthew Perez at Dr. Grow to Know.
What's one song that embodies you, my man? One song.
All right, one song, and lyrically, won't go with the lyrics, but House of Pain, Jump Around, it's got some good energy vibes there. So yeah, we'll go with that.
What's your favorite quote?
I'll go with Just Be You.
What's your cheat food? Favorite sweet?
We'll go apple pie a la mode.
Perfect. And how can people reach you?
Best way is on X at B Martin Real.
Hey, America, I've been listening to that guy for years. That guy's podcast is off the hook. You got to listen to that guy. If you're not a morning person, listen to that guy. You hear that voice, it will truly soothe you. And the messages he brings is just totally on fire. Thank you, Brian, for being you, my man. Love it. John, ready? Give advice to either a new teacher or administrator.
To new teachers, we need you. Administrators, you need us. We need each other, man. Let's do this.
Read a note, an email, a text from a teacher or student that inspired you.
Here at Saxe High School, we do a great job of our organizations, our athletics, etc. And they send teacher appreciation notes. And this was my last week. And we always love those good notes, but I want to remind us the importance of life that we make. I had one, and it just simply says this: Dear Mr. Murray, thank you for being a better father to me than mine has been. It makes you realize the importance that we play in the lives of these young people. Now, when I have a bad day, kids, they come out, and I have one taped to my desk. I'm gonna pick up right here, and she says, I hope you have a great day. I love you. Students know exactly how to get to your heart. I keep this one, so I just look at it. If I'm having a bad day, that's my focal point right there.
Beautiful. Love it. Eso. Send some flowers to a current educator that inspires you.
I will share very quickly. I had a very tremendously successful year last year where in addition to being the Garland ISD Teacher of the Year, I was the Region 10 for Dallas Teacher of the Year, 88 school districts, etc. So you would think I'm at the pinnacle. Well, then I got this AP seminar job that I told you about, and I became a rookie very fast. There's a fine gentleman I met on social media. His name is Josh Headley. He's at the Baltimore Polytechnic Institute. And you want to talk about mentoring? He walked me through the year so that I stayed a day ahead of my AP scholars. There's no way to get trained for a gig like this. And we had an 89% AP pass rate, one of the highest. We exceeded the global average, exceeded the state average, et cetera. And you understand, we become rookies real fast when we're put in new circumstances.
Absolutely.
Exactly. I love that quote. That's awesome. Who should people follow you in social media?
Well, I would like to throw out this Sexy Mr. Murray at Sexy Mr. Murray. Let me tell you why. I would love to learn from you. And that's what I do. I post nothing but student stuff, videos of the ballroom dancing and one-pagers they've made and just big celebration events. I put those out there under my Sexy Mr. Murray. And when I have folks, amazing people around the country who follow me and give me a chance to see the amazing things they've done, makes me a better teacher, makes me a better human. And I appreciate what social media does for all of us.
Amen, brother. What's one song that embodies you as a person?
You got to go to the Beatles, Let It Be, the opening line. And I'm going to tell you why it will resonate in my heart forever. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me. And I had some choir kids sing it 6 years ago, and they said, when I find myself in times of trouble, Mr. Murray comes to me. And yeah, and it just makes me understand why I do what I do. Absolutely.
What's your favorite quote?
You got to go to Lord of the Rings with Gandalf, who says, a wizard is never late, Frodo Baggins. A wizard is never early. He arrives precisely when he means to. That's my job as an educator.
What's your favorite cheat food?
My cheat food is in my refrigerator right behind me. Almond Joy creamer for your coffee. It will keep you going all day. It's hard to get sometimes because they stop making it during some of the seasons. So I stock up on it. I highly recommend it. Almond Joy creamer for your coffee.
Love it. Okay. And you already shared how people can reach you. I'm glad you're here, brother. Show it again. How can people reach you?
That's Mr. Murray on the Twitter, man. I'd love to hear from you. Let's celebrate what we do together.
Lynn Lucas, give advice to either a new teacher or an administrator.
I think this advice would apply for both. And that's just, remember that, we teachers, we're people and, we make mistakes and we need grace. Give yourself some grace, give your staff some grace, and just, you never know, as you say on the announcements almost every morning, like you never know what somebody's going through that day. And, it's okay to not be perfect that day. It's going to be fine. It's going to be okay.
Amen. Read a note, an email, a text from a teacher or student that wrote you, that inspired you.
Okay, so this one was from a student I had 2 years ago. He wrote to me, "Congratulations, Dr. Lucas. You are the teacher of the month. And not just for the month, but for the year and forever. You deserve that and more. You are a wonderful teacher who helps many students every day, like me when I arrived at MPA. Thank you for being the best teacher I ever had. Thanks to you, I love science because I liked how you taught us with that love and with that patience. I hope you have a fantastic day."
Love it. Send some flowers to a current educator that inspires you.
Well, that's got to be my collaborator, Mr. James Iferung. Like, he and I work closely together every day, and he's been my mentor since I started at MPA, and I still learn from him every day, and I still am kind of in awe, actually, at like how he can come up with stuff. You know, we'll be talking about something. He's like, "Well, why don't we try this?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's brilliant. Like, how did you come up with that?" And so I've got to give a shout out there.
For sure. You got anyone to follow on social media?
Well, I'm going to depart from the education field a bit and say, why don't we all follow the We Rate Dogs on TikTok? So what they do is they like just give feel-good stories each week about certain like animals that have either done something funny or done something heroic or what have you. It's a little bit of eye bleach. You get to see some cute animals. You get a little like heartfelt uplift, and then the money that they get from their channel, they actually donate to like shelters who need, and dogs who need like medical attention. And so it just sort of gives me good feels, resets my perspective a little bit to check in on that every now and then.
What's one song that embodies Lynn Lucas?
Well, I don't know that anybody will know this song, but it's called Extraordinary Machine by Fiona Apple. And in it, she's just singing about how she is who she is, and she's just going to take what life throws at her, and whether it's good or bad, she's going to make the most out of it.
All right. What's your favorite quote?
I'm going to go with Eleanor Roosevelt. "You must do the thing you cannot do." And that was sort of at the end of an extended quote. She's sort of talking about fear and just, you know, throwing yourself out there and just, you know, do that thing you don't think you can do.
Love it. What's your favorite cheat food?
Oh, peanut butter M&Ms. Faux show.
All right. How can people reach you? They want to reach out and learn from you.
I'm old school. You can just email me at, you know, ellenlucas2@garlandisd.net. I always check my email like many times a day. So that's the best way.
And for anybody out there, if you want to know how to teach a table full of students from around the world at different levels about mitochondria or mitosis, right there. That's Michael Jordan at MPA. I'm saying this globally. This lady right here is the #1 educator I have at that campus because she did all those examples you all did about engaging kids in discipline. That's that lady right there. So reach out to her if you want to learn from one of the best out there. Jonathan, hey, team, please, someone is on. I'm getting some feedback. Make sure you're on mute if you're not talking right now. Jonathan, here we go. Give advice either to a new teacher or administrator.
Oh, well, to a new teacher, I'm just going to go back to what I said earlier. This profession is difficult, but it is an incredible vehicle for personal growth. So just view it as that and attack it. And real quick for an admin, fix your ISS.
Amen. Read a note, an email from a text from a teacher or a student that inspired you.
Oh man, I have one written down, but I forgot. I thought of something even better. At the beginning of this school year, I am helping with training all of our in-school suspension teachers for the district. And my friend and business partner, Carl, is actually higher than me in the district. He's a district level behavior specialist. And I guess, and you know, we work together for that training. And I guess his boss makes them send out thank you notes, because when I got to school the next day, I had a thank you note in my mailbox that was one line that said, "Here's your thank you note."
All right.
So very inspiring.
Send some flowers to a current educator that inspires you.
I'm sending flowers to my wife and daughter. My wife, Miss Cranford, she's the best math teacher in the world, and my daughter just got married a couple of years ago, and she works at the same campus as my wife, Miss Contreras, one of the best art teachers. Sending flowers to them.
Who should people follow on social media?
Follow my friend Andrea Bittner, one of the just a fantastic, amazing, inspiring ELL or EB teacher. She's at Bittner Andrea. That's BITNER ANDREA. Follow her. She's amazing.
Yes, and she visited MPA this last year, another national speaker and presenter at MPA. Here we go. I lost my point, right? What's one song that embodies you as a person?
Stand Tall, Think Clear by Adam Seven.
Gotcha. Your favorite quote?
Okay, I have to read it because it's more than one or two lines. It's Holly Whitaker and edited for language, just FYI. The truth is, honestly, that personal growth is boring AF. It's as vanilla as how kind you are to the guy checking you out at the Safeway or how mean you were in that text. It's dull and monotonous and tedious, and it's exactly the flavor of what you're dealing with right now. That you think it shouldn't be happening or wish that it wasn't is the telltale sign that it should. You said you wanted to wake up, then do it. Go forth and grow and stop looking for the better path or the lesson you want because you'll miss exactly the opportunity you asked for.
Exactly. What's your favorite cheat food? Yeah, I know you have to have one. Mr. Healthy.
I mean, all of them. If there's ice cream anywhere in my vicinity, I will binge eat it.
All right. And how can people reach you for advice, your services? Let them know.
Sure. I'm on Twitter at Mr. Cranford ISS. My books are on Amazon. And if you're looking for PD, just reach out to us via our website, www.theartofiss.com. Again, that's www.theartofiss.com.
And from the land of enchantment to close out the show, Mr. Chris, here we go. Give advice to either a new teacher or an administrator.
So for both, I would just say reflect. Reflection is key to growth. So just continue to reflect day to day on how you're feeling or how you can get better.
Read a note, an email, text from a teacher or student that inspired you.
All right. I'm going to read this from my first year of teaching, and hopefully I don't get emotional, but thank you for our dear Mr. Love. Thank you for teaching me and every other kid in your class. I know that I have already said what I thought about you as a teacher and a football coach, and I want you to know that I meant every word that I said. But at the time, I wasn't able to express all of my thoughts into words. So I just want to say that you motivate me to do my best whenever I see you, your excitement and happiness at the beginning of class. You also motivate me to do my best on the field when I see your enthusiasm and dedication towards the sport. Once again, I want to thank you for motivating me and many others to do their best in all of their classes. Your friend.
Nice. Eso. Send some flowers to a current educator that inspires you.
Yes, so the educator would be Coach Justin Parisi. He's a good friend of mine and one of our PE coaches at my campus, and he's just an incredible teacher as well as an incredible colleague. So I really appreciate all that he does.
Who should people follow on social media?
I'll say my school. So on Instagram, go to Camino_Real_middle_school and just see all the neat and incredible things that we're doing on the campus.
What's one song, una canción that embodies you as a person?
I would say old school, I Feel Good by James Brown, because when I'm in the classroom, I'm feeling good.
There you go. What's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote, watch, I have it actually written down, but I really love this one by Booker T. Washington. It's, if you want to lift yourself up, lift up someone else.
Love it. What's your favorite cheat food or sweet?
Oh my goodness, I have so many. I love ice cream. I just love, anytime I could get my hands on ice cream, I love ice cream.
All right. How can people reach you?
Email me at clove1@lcps.net.
And that is our teacher roundtable number 2. Hey, America, you don't gotta go get a PO. You don't gotta go out to a different city. You got people from all over the country. You've got national podcasters on this panel. You've got national speakers on this panel. You got teachers of the year for the district, for the state. You got everything going on. You got authors on this call right here, and it's all for free. So you're not alone. Reach out to people. Make sure that you just have to listen. Put on your little headphones or your earbuds, whatever it is, to get all of this knowledge. Because think of all the years right here. You got tons of years of experience and of successful educators. Remember, you're not alone. We have our We Are family show coming up where we got bus drivers, security, cafeteria workers from their angle of education coming up. We also have a couple more roundtables. And then in a couple of weeks, the authors of the book that I helped write, Growing Your Why, being here on the podcast, making sure you're all part of it. Thank you very much. Panel, do not log off yet. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next Sunday at 6 p.m. Échale ganas mañana. Adiós.
Échale ganas.